Painting for about 14 years. I focus primarily on landscapes. And in the last 6-7 years, I graduated to a limited palette. So the only tubes that I buy are red, blue, and yellow, and white. And that's how I paint. And I've been doing that for about 6-7 years. And I started to do that because I felt like my paintings were looking very confusing and more colorful than harmonious. And I was searching for that harmony. And in an attempt to get the harmony, I decided to reduce the number of colors that I was buying. And since I'm a landscape painter, I end up painting a lot of trees. So I wanted to learn how to mix my greens. So initially when I started out, I had like, I don't know, sap green, viridian, you name it, and I had it on my palette. And I used to feel like I don't know how to mix them because I used to dip into the convenience colors all the time. Because I wanted to learn the technique and the method of actually thinking through the color and trying to make the colors on my own. So I started using just the limited palette, and that's what I've been doing since. You can see my work on my website. It's riakrishnan.com. If you like, you can see, and all of the stuff that you see on my website is a good representation of what the limited palette can do. It's more extensive than we think, unlike its name called the limited palette. So what I will be doing today is I will walk you through my process, and I'll be doing a demonstration of a landscape. Should take about an hour or so for me to get the block in. It's going to be an 8x10. My goal today is going to be to get the whole landscape blocked in, no details, just the whole overall picture of the landscape. So I can show you my process. So what I do is my sketchbook is super important for me. I start with like, I don't know how to show you this because it's really delicate because of all the stuff that's into it. It's really heavy, but I'll try my best. Okay, so I'll try to come up with like multiple compositions from a single picture. And this is primarily for studio work. So I'll come up with like multiple sketches, and I'm trying to find a page so I could like show you something sensible. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so I'll come up with like, can you see? Okay, I'll come up with like multiple, this is me trying to find a composition. And it's greatly designed, not necessarily what exactly is out there, because I'm trying to make a painting. So I'm trying to create a composition. So I'll come up with like, it's the same location, but over here, I thought maybe I could include water instead of just land. So this is me just exploring, thinking out loud, taking notes. And then I will go ahead and make these little studies. Can you see? Okay. I'll make these little studies, and I will it's the same location, but it's like, again, some of these are plein air. I think these two are plein air, but you can see they're very small. So the purpose is just to find the composition and just to understand the color that's going out there, because there's so much to look outside when you're painting outside. Is the biggest challenge is always to simplify the landscape and then to create a composition around it. So this just happens to be my process. You are free to take a look at the sketchbook if you like and flip through it. Just be careful because it's kind of like falling apart with all the stuff in it. Yes.
The colors acrylic or watercolor?
No, this is all oils. Yeah, it's all oils. It's not paper. Actually, what I do is, thank you for the questions. I love them. What I do is I paint on loose, can you see, loose canvas sheets. And if I like the study that I'm working on, and then it kind of like goes with what I'm doing over here, then I will kind of like pin it up over here using box clips. So let's say I decide to blow up this composition. Let's say I have an idea, to paint a 30 by 30, let's say. What I'm going to do is I will take these all off because these are not stuck together. And I'll stick them up on my wall, which is right next to my easel. So I can kind of like see what I'm doing. This is like my reference. And sometimes if I really want to, I mean, 30 by 30, yes, what I will do is I would make a little 8 by 8 or something like that. That is, so I'm not bouncing from one study to another. I'll try to really be precise because I don't want to take chances. A 30 by 30 linen is going to cost me 300. So I don't want to waste that. And also time and effort that goes into actually putting paint. I rather realize my problem sooner than later, right? So I will go through that trouble, but many times I will just put these up on the wall and just try to paint from that. The reason I started to do this is because painting on these loose sheets of canvas is because I'm not too attached to them. So if I mess it up, I'll just toss it and I'll quickly start another one, as opposed to thinking, oh my gosh, I've spent like $10 on this piece of canvas. So I'm more bound to then salvage my painting, and trying to salvage a painting often is a huge creative compromise. So I'd rather start over than try to, I don't know, then just try to like fix things, okay? So that just happens to be my process. And again, like I said, you are free to go through my sketchbook if you like. For today's painting that I'm planning to paint for you, I already have a little value study that I have over here. And I will be painting from a photograph. Again. By the way, I have someone who said she would be here by 7:30. So I'm hoping she will just come through the door.
Yeah, it's almost 7:30.
Okay, okay. So I'm gonna try to, can you see? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try to simplify that scene. And I will deviate from the photograph because I'm making my painting. So you'll see me deviate quite a bit from the photograph. But what I like about this photograph is the morning sun and the light and the contrast between the lights and the darks. And that's what I'm going to try to go after. Okay, so that is that. And
talk about, I just, I got here late.
Sure.
The color, the limited palette.
Yeah.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
Can you say again the colors that you used?
Absolutely. So I paint using just ultramarine blue, since we're all artists here. Before you ask which blue is it, it's ultramarine blue, it's cadmium lemon, and it is cad red light, and all colors by Gamblin. I've been painting with Gamblin for a very long time, and I love the pigment strength that they have. They're all artist quality paints, and titanium white, again, is also Gamblin. I'm someone who, if I like something, I'll stick with it unless something changes, but I'm not opposed to trying other colors. I will try, but I need to really give myself the reason why I need that color on my palette, because otherwise I'm going to be confused. If I have two blues on my palette, like let's say I have cobalt and ultramarine, and I'm painting, I'm going to be confused where to go. So knowing who I am helps. So I try to make the process a little easy for me. So when I look at something and I'm trying to mix a color, I'll ask myself, what does it have? Because all colors are primarily red, blue, and yellow. I mean, I'm talking about landscapes. Now, flowers might be a little difficult, like fuchsias and stuff, because the chroma is so high in them. But as far as the landscapes are concerned, landscapes and probably even portraiture, you can totally paint with the limited palette. I've loved the results that I've gotten, and I'm still kind of like exploring it. So, and what I do is, I don't know, can you guys see inside of my, oh, okay. You're very high tech. I love this. So what I do is, so I have my red, yellow, and this is how I lay out my palette every single time. This green over here is pre-mixed. Orange is pre-mixed. And this color, I think it goes by yellow ochre in the market. Different brands make it, and the shade varies between leaning more towards yellow and leaning more towards red, and how muted and saturated it can be. I mix my own. It's a habit for me. It's a what can I say? It's like a warm up for me every day, mixing my paints before I start. And I paint every day, so I end up using them all. Do you folks have any questions? Okay, let me know. Feel free to interrupt anytime.
I think we're very intrigued by the
By the
limited
limited
yeah,
palette.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. I like that. Now, the question is, how shall I position this? I need to stand in front of it, and you still need to be able to see it. You guys, I'll be blocking you. I think.
It's all right.
I can see
It's
it.
all right.
There's no perfect spot.
Okay,
No.
okay.
Someone's a chair to go around.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna come.
If you want to move or something, that's fine. Or if you want me to move some other sweet
No,
spot. you have. Okay, okay.
because then everybody else.
Oh, and this is my color wheel. Well, we all know what is a color wheel, right? You can buy these off of the shelf. But this is very specific to my colors. So that is ultramarine blue. That is cad red light, and that is cadmium lemon. So if I ever have to change my blue, I will make another one just to understand what my value range is going to be. Okay, so to simplify this, you can see how dark my ultramarine is. You can see how mid-value my cad red light is, and you can see how high key my cadmium lemon is. So I have super low, I have mid-value, and I have a pretty high key. And of course, I have the titanium white. So I have a full value range just with these colors, as far as the painting is concerned, right? So if I change my blue, I will have to make sure where the value scale fits, because that will again affect the value range of my paintings, okay? So I've arrived at this palette with a lot of experimentation, you can say, to come to this specific colors. Yeah, that's the color wheel. And I paint using linseed oil. I stopped using the other mediums that you get. I used to use them, but then I just switched over to linseed oil because I didn't like the smell of all those things in my studio. So
That your friend,
all right. So again, like I said, I paint on loose sheets. So this is again a loose sheet that I have taped to a board. If a painting comes out good, if someone buys it, I'll just stick it on a board. It's archival. But at the same time, while I'm painting it, something this small, I'm not too attached. If I screw up this demo, I'll just toss it and paint another one. Okay, so I don't like to fall too much in love with my paintings early on. So
but you eventually paint on canvas.
this is canvas.
Well, that is canvas.
I'll show you. I probably have it over here. I used to paint on the boards a lot, but then we moved and I have so many boards. It was just too much. I had to toss things out. So this is just easy to stack. You can see, so it's like that. It's called Fredericks. I love this.
So that's not canvas pattern specifically for oils, that can be used for acrylics as well.
I think so. It says,
Yeah,
it
doesn't say
says,
for oils, yeah, so I've had some.
yeah, it says acrylic prime used with any medium.
Okay.
So you could use it with any medium, I suppose. Yeah, but I like it a lot. So. a little blue. So at first, I don't know how to show you this as well, but so since everyone can see it, can everyone see it? Okay. So that's what I'll be painting. If you like asking me to show you the thing again, I can. Um, Right, so. One other color I did not mention was this one, which is also pre-mixed. And it's like a purpley. It's basically it's my darkest dark. So it's my red, basically all colors have red, yellow, and blue in them. But this is more red and blue. Try to lean it more towards the red. Okay, so it's also my purple. So what I'll do is when I'm starting out the painting, of course I do have my little value sketch over here and I have my reference. So I'm going to make like a loose sketch. And like I said,
Sorry,
Okay.
just trying to get a little bit of light off the screen.
Are you painting off your sketch or the photo?
Both.
Okay.
I have modified the photo just a little bit in my sketch. So I'm referencing, it's my value study. So I'm referencing values from the sketch. And if I'm painting large, I will really take my time with this. Have some trees in the back over here. I have some trees here. I'm gonna have one that's coming in. In terms of composition, that's something that the value study always helps with that. I just note that. In terms of composition, my goal is to try to keep you in my painting for as long as I can.
Speak louder because when you're
Yes.
facing that way, we can't. hear you.
Yes, when I'm trying to make a painting, my goal is always to try to keep you in my painting for as long as I can.
You mean the viewer,
What?
You mean the viewer,
yes,
yeah.
yes, you as in the viewer.
right?
Yes. That's what I'm gonna do. All right. So this is, I know it looks like nothing at this point, but I can see it through, so.
In your thumbnail sketch, you did with pencil.
You know, I forgot to bring my markers, but they're called value markers. Have you heard of them? They are like, you get this pack of, it's made by Dick Blick, and you get this pack of like 5 values. Have you heard?
These are pencil?
No, they're markers. So they're like gray scales. So value 1 through 6 or 1 through 5, I forget. And they're basically like sketch pens. So it's like really quick. All right, okay. So I'll always start with my darks. I'm going to start with my greens that are in shadow. I'm dipping very so lightly in my linseed oil just to give my paint some mobility. It's a little tacky. Okay, so. The paint is very tacky, so I need a lot of linseed oil. Okay, let's see. I'm squinting and looking at large shapes, and I'm forcing myself not to add any details. No details at this stage. Gosh, my paint is very tacky from yesterday.
Wonder, would it help you as well as us if we use that
Mhm.
and put it next to your easel and then you put
Sure.
the photo on it?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you could be looking at both.
Yeah,
You think?
absolutely. Yeah. Let's try that. Yeah.
Hopefully there without running the board.
Just. Oh, great idea.
But let's just try it. I mean, if it doesn't work, then, can it?
Yeah, make sure it works for you. I would think it would work for you.
Can you guys see though? I don't think it's helping you. Unless this can.
Oh, you have to move over a little bit, yeah.
To the left, yeah.
Oh, I have to. I could do that. Yeah. I could do that.
There you go. That helps.
Is that better? Okay.
A little bit.
Okay. There it is.
That helps.
Okay. Okay, I'm thinking darks still at this point. I know I have these trees over here in light, but they do have some shadow areas going on. So I'm gonna just indicate some. And you can see I'm painting with a, I don't know, number 7 brush to help me to avoid myself from adding new details. All right. I want to get in some of those, some of the tree shapes over there. And I'm thinking the lighter areas of the tree, and I'm constantly trying to squint here. You can't see me, but I am. Again, I'm just trying to quickly move through the scene. I'm not trying to get into any kind of detail at this point.
So you're using the same brush.
Yes, I don't clean my brush because I don't use Gam salt. So I clean my brushes using a soap. And once I clean my brushes, I cannot use them until they're absolutely dry.
Yeah.
So basically I cannot, I don't clean my brush in between. I just work through with the one brush that I have. I'm trying to deepen my shadow areas just a little bit.
Ria, did you say how long you've been painting with oils?
Yeah, I've been painting for like 14 years with oils, with limited palette for about like 6, 7 something years.
And did you go to art school?
I did not. I took workshops with a lot of artists. I did not go to a school per se. Yeah. All right, okay. I want the painting to quickly start reading distance. That's always my goal. So before I start focusing on like one teeny tiny thing, I want to move on to the next area in my painting. I want to go and get my mountain locked in. Look, because I cannot judge what's going on over here before I lay the paint that's right next to it. Because color and everything that we do in painting, it's all relative. So unless I place my shapes and my values next to each other, I won't be able to tell what exactly is going on, and I cannot judge it. It's too soon. So that's I think that's going to be my mountain in the back.
The color on the screen is so different from what
It
you have.
is so different.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
shockingly different, yeah. I like to mix my greens into my, I basically like to mix every color with everything else that's going on my palette. So not, so it's all, it just continues, the harmony just continues. And just naturally comes through. And then I want to, some trees in the back over here.
And is this a photo that you took or a photo?
I took a photo. This was back when I used to live in Oregon.
Um,
And this was like at the entrance of Mount Rainier National Park there. So. Oh, picture, but I kind of know the place. I typically paint what I know. I like to, I feel like I paint more local scenes than, or places I've lived in than my travels. And I'm just trying to still get it to read the distance that I'm looking for in my painting at this point. I want to get the, I want to get in the foreground going on, because again, unless I have everything in the painting, I won't be able to judge it. It's too soon. And you can see I'll just make a slight mark and I'll test, because I want the value of my foreground to be lighter than my trees. I want it to be lighter than my trees in the back. Okay, so I'll always like make a slight mark and test for how close or how far I am from where I want to be. And then once I'm sure, I will make that mark. Of course, like I said, my goal is always to keep my painting unfinished for as long as possible. I don't want to commit to anything too soon. So. I'm squinting, I promise. I'm also applying paint very, very thinly at this point. I think it's just loosening up. Hold on. Just a sec. As you can see, it is slowly starting to read distance already. I will usually, when I'm painting at home or outside, I will step back very often, because I like to get some distance from my painting when I'm trying to capture a scene. I'm also trying to keep my brushwork buried and loose. So having a brush that's large enough helps. Definitely helps. See, it's already starting to come together in a way. You can see I'm still using the limited palette.
But when you start most paintings, you usually start them that small, and then if you like what you do it larger?
Always.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because the one that I saw on the show, know, the instructor showcase.
Yes,
Yeah, that was pretty big.
that was,
Yeah.
and that started, oh, I wish I had brought that sketchbook. That's in another sketchbook. And I had like smaller sketches that I did for that one. Then I did an 8x8 and then I did the 30x30. So, and I changed quite a few things. The point is, when you do these smaller ones, you realize the problem areas. Because look, if I have to blow this one up as a 2024 or 30x40, and I have to think through it, I would be like, this would be like my problem area here. Because it's such a huge negative shape. Now, in an 8x10, this is what, it's like an inch, inch and a half maybe. If I go 30x40, that's going to be like 3 or 4 inches. Now we got a problem. Now I have to see how do I make that piece very interesting for the viewer. So, but these are the kind of things that I will not know unless unless I do a smaller study and test it out. But at this point, I feel like, see, it's already starting to read distance even before I put in the sky. And what I'll do is I clean my brush in between using using my paper towel. I don't really use anything else. Need more paper towel.
Money over on the counter.
Oh, okay. Alright, I think it is
I think
really,
you're very brave to paint with such a pretty sweater and not wear an apron.
actually, I forgot. I can see my apron is right there, but yeah. Well, don't jinx it.
No, okay, sorry. I should have said anything.
I would like step back and I'll look at it often and I'll see, okay, I've gotten the light. But you can see all my masses are blocked in and it is starting to read already without the detail. Whatever I add beyond this is going to be, it's only going, this is the foundation, basically, is what I'm trying to say. This is just some details. Let's try to refine a few things. Let me start with these. I'm still thinking large shapes and values. And I'm always very clear about the direction of light in my, when I'm painting. I don't want to be ever confused about that, because if I'm confused, all my paintings are gonna look confused, and then the viewer is also gonna be confused about, oh, where's the light coming from? So I'm very mindful of that, and actually, in all my sketches, I will mention where is the light coming from, so I don't forget. Because what happens is, once you start painting, you just get so lost in the, the juicy color and the brushwork and all of that, it's very easy to lose sight of that. Let's see. Shadow coming down. Clear indications of the shadow in here. So if I look at the photograph, I can literally count the number of trees that are in this area over here. But when I squint, it's like one big chunk, one big mass that I'm just trying to lock in. This one, maybe I'll add, just to give myself some grounding and to know where things are headed. Maybe I could just add the branches just to help myself so I'm not completely lost. Too bright. One other thing I really like to do in my paintings is I try not to exhaust the value range, meaning I'll try not to go super low key, meaning my darkest dark will still be a light gray, some shade of gray compared to ivory black. Does that make sense? So I won't go all the way down. So if you put ivory black, it will still be the darkest. And my dark will appear much lighter than the ivory black. And I do the same thing with my lightest light. I tend to add a little bit of yellow in that.
Rather than white.
Rather than white, yes. Yes, because anytime you add white, what it does is it cools the color down first. And second of all, what it does is it takes the color away from the color. So if I want to go light green, say for example, these trees over here, right? If I just mix white and titanium white with my green, it will just not be green enough. So if I still want to keep my green to look like green, then I have to rely on the lighter other color values that I have. So yellows, yellow ochre, or maybe orange that I have. Just a little bit of light coming from that direction on these trees. You folks have any questions?
I just had one question about, do you ever, you mix your own brown if you need brown?
Yes, I do. I will mix all the colors that so when I start painting, I will have these colors on my palette always, so I'll pre-mix them before I start painting. But if I feel like I need another color, then I will mix it, yes.
Aren't those two darks on the right side of
Which
your
ones?
palette? The-
These two,
Yeah.
so this one is purple that I mix. It's basically red, blue, and a little bit of yellow. This one is burnt umber, or it's a muted yellow. It's straight out of the tube. It's a new color for me. Raw umber is what it's called. It's a muted yellow. And I started to introduce that because I wanted my paintings to look a little warmer. So I was trying to use that. I don't use it a whole lot, but sometimes if I'm painting a 30 by 30 and I'm looking for that warm look, I will tone down the linen first with that burnt umber or raw umber. Sorry, I forget. Yeah, there are two of them. One is called a raw umber and the other one is called, it leans towards red. It's so confusing. Burnt umber. Yeah, they're both umbers. And they dry funny. They dry very matte finish kind of. So I'm here to figure them out. So I don't know if you have had anybody uses those colors.
I use burnt umber, the other one was what?
Raw
Mine's
umber.
acrylic. Raw,
Okay.
yeah, no, I use raw sienna and raw, okay,
Okay.
and it's pretty red, some of them are pretty red.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're there's like a
I'll let you know.
okay, yeah. I have to introduce a little bit of purple in my greens just to make them interesting, because otherwise it's just two shades of green, light and dark, and kind of sometimes makes it boring. But you can see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to change the color and keep the value to make things interesting. Okay. Now, if I'm trying to paint a 30 by 30 with this theme, I might think of actually including another mountain in here, which is there actually in this painting, in this photograph. But I might try to include that over here. I might try to include a little cloud in the back over here. I will think through it. Of course, things change, and happy accidents also happen in the painting. So, but I will try to plan for some of those things. I'm trying to find shapes inside of shapes. So the whole thing is not with one shade of green. And then again, trying to find ways to make it interesting just a little bit for the eyes. Look, in all honesty, when I'm painting an 8 by 10, it doesn't really matter so much because it's a much smaller space. But these things will get amplified if I go 30 by 40. This big shape of green will become a problem area if I go 30 by 40. And that's when I will have to think about finding more shapes inside of the shape. These are things, at least for me, I realize, or like eye openers when I paint small and I try to think, okay, what will happen if I go large? Like, what do I need to prep for, basically? There's some darks at the bottom. Just to kind of like ground it. Maybe you can put a little shadow in the back. Slowly. The other thing in terms of composition also is I'll try to bring some things in front and push some things in the back. So they're not on the same plane. So for example, I think I should move this one just a little bit in front. So if you're the viewer and you're walking into my painting, you will first discover this tree line over here. And walk a little more and discover the other things. Unlike everything, instead of everything being right there in front of you. So that's another way to make the viewer walk a little distance in the painting. It's a little red and red, so my paints are just getting mixed. But I hope that makes sense. So a few dots. And we'll hold it together. I think I would call that my blocking. Now at this point, I would typically stop, wait for it to rest before I, keep tweaking it and changing it. But do you mind if I like just step back from it once? Yeah, typically I step back often and I look at it just to get some perspective on it to see what I can do or how I can make it better, basically. What we're trying to do in landscape painting is we're trying to create atmospheric perspective, right? We're just trying to create a distance on a two-dimensional surface. That's the goal. Leave it at that. And just when I say that, I feel like I need to make one more mark, but I think I'm going to leave it at that. Folks have any questions? Oh, sorry.
It's a nice painting. I have a question. What's the media used?
Linseed oil.
Linseed.
Yeah, it's I think it's called refined linseed oil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use certain kind?
I don't use Turks. I used to use Gamsol in my studio, but I stopped using Gamsol, and sometimes that's one of the reasons why I don't clean my brush in between. So if I have to clean my brush, I'll just pick up another brush. I'll do that sometimes if I want to keep my sky really clean. But honestly, I don't mind the green in the sky. A little bit of the trees going through the blue, a little bit of blue coming back in. I don't really mind it. I feel like it just holds everything together. So yeah, I don't clean my brush in between. No, I don't. I'll just use, like I said, if I feel the need for another brush, I'll just get another brush and I'll just use like two brushes maybe. But typically I've seen myself, I just use one brush. Yeah, even for 30 by 30.
But when you paint larger, you use a thicker brush.
Yes, so I'll show you the other brush that I have. And I feel like I could go larger. This is the number 8 by Chacal. I need to try the 12 and see what that does. Basically, what I feel like the larger brush does is, it first of all, it won't listen to you, which is great. So it allows you to have this varied brush mark. I could move and you can take a picture of the painting. Yeah. Yeah. So it allows you to, like, it gives you room to create varied brushwork. I personally like that. With a small brush, what happens is you tend to be very repetitive, do the same thing again and again. Also, as humans, we love to repeat things. At least I do, and I know that about myself. So I'll make sure that, I don't know if you noticed, but when I was painting, I had both of these tree lines at the same level. I just know that, so I kind of like try to watch myself. I'm trying to break the symmetry consciously. Okay, so because that's the part of design that I like. Okay, so I'll do that very consciously. That's the part of design. But yeah, for a larger, like 30 by 30, I would do like a number 8, or I should probably do 12. But yeah, same brush, you don't clean in between. And I won't typically paint like like I said, I feel like I've gone a lot farther, but this is an 8 by 10. This could be a la prima. If I work on it for another hour or so, I would probably finish it off. But 30 by 30, I couldn't finish in a day. So, I'll bring it to a stage where every corner of the canvas is covered in that one sitting, so that everything starts to read. I want everything to start reading quickly, because I cannot judge any single piece of my painting without having other colors next to it. So that's why I try to do it. So if you noticed, even today, I was trying to work on the whole painting together. I didn't finish like one area, the other. And even right now, whether you want to call it finished or unfinished, but it's the same throughout the scene. I don't have a single area in the painting that's a little more finished than the other. All areas are, I would say this, all of it is unfinished at the same level. So when I paint the next day, I try to bring the whole thing together. I want it to be like a symphony, like the whole thing coming together at the same time. No competing areas in the painting. That's the idea. Yeah.
And what else would you do to this another day? Would you do
That's a
more?
good question. What I would do another day, which would be once it dries perhaps, is I would maybe add more thicker paint on it. Add more thicker paint, maybe soften some of these edges over here like this. Maybe add a few more trunks, a few more lights over here. But it wouldn't change a whole lot.
And you'd wait for it to dry, which would take more than a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would. I mean, I'm using linseed oil, so linseed oil slows the process. If you use the gal kit and these other mediums, probably be dry by tomorrow. But for me, maybe I'll have to wait a couple more days. And what I would do is, I love dry brushing a lot, so I'll use dry brush. You can do that only on a dry painting. Yeah, that's what I would do. Maybe I could even, like, if I have to do something now, I would like go in and increase some of my darks in here just to create more depth. But sometimes I would leave a painting at this stage intentionally because I don't want to overdo it. So sometimes getting some time away from the painting helps, gives you a little different perspective when you come back to it. So sometimes I'll force myself to stop because, I can just go to a point of no return sometimes.
Understand that. So I don't work with oils, so I'm not sure. So my question is if you're dry brushing, does it work? Because I dry brush with acrylic, just often to soften edges. So does oil work that way too? If you wanted to soften an edge, you would dry brush. No.
Soften an edge, I would still go like wet and wet. You could do dry brushing too on top of it. Dry brushing, I primarily use it to create texture
Oh,
because
okay.
I like the broken paint feel that you get when you do dry brushing. So that's why I personally tend to use it, but yeah,
Yeah, I just
use
wondered
it.
with
Yeah.
oils how that works, yeah.
which is glazing, dry brushing. I do mostly dry brushing when it's dry. Yeah.
So if you were to do another phase on this, what would you be thinking about?
Another phase on this, like if I have to go like 30 by 30 or something like that.
No, like if you were to come back to this in 3 or 4 days,
Uh-huh.
how
How would I take it to like finish?
yeah, or what would you have in mind?
Yeah, so I would try to like refine some of these areas over here, try to find more. So for example, I could go in here and, pick out and create more shapes just by adding a few darks. Just like that, and create more shapes inside of it. That's one thing I could do. The other thing I would do is I would add thicker paint in some areas just to finish it. It wouldn't change a whole lot. It looks pretty decent at this stage. It wouldn't change a whole lot. But those are the kind of things that I would maybe think of doing. Adding more shapes, finding shapes inside of shapes to keep it interesting. And maybe in like these areas, you can see this is like a big chunk of green over here, right? And honestly, again, this is an 8 by 10, so it wouldn't matter so much. But if this goes like 24 30, 24 by 30,
What would you do?
yeah. So again, I would try to break things up over here. Just like how I said, I'll try to find more shapes inside of the shape. Like this is my big shape over here, right? So I'll try to break it up. Basically, it will give you the illusion of having more trees stacked up. You see what I'm saying? But that's something, yeah, I wouldn't do it for this one. Might look cluttered, but if I'm going large, then that's one thing I would like to refine. Yeah. More questions? Yes.
So when you finish this one, could you send it to us?
Yeah,
So
sure.
we can see?
Yeah, yeah, I would love to, yeah,
Yeah, I was
I'll
gonna
finish
say.
it. Yeah.
You can send it to me.
I have your email.
And then I can send it to this guy.
Sounds good, yeah. Oh. Yeah, if you want to like look through my sketchbook out of curiosity, you are free to. Yeah, please.
So when you start, you actually focus on this or this?
That's a good question. So I focus mainly on this.
Really,
Yeah, yeah. And usually what I'll do is look. So for example, I've done this, right? And then I'll make like these color notes, okay? So it's like, so if this is still not, I've still not found the right composition, but this is how I will try to find it, okay? So I will try to like go through and look how many I've done, and I've still not found a composition yet, okay? So, but if I do, once I zero down on something, then I'll make like a little 8 by 8 before I go 30 by 30, let's say, okay? But I really take my time. I am so slow, like a tortoise could race me. I am very slow in my process, and you can see, I'll do this full time. Yes.
Yeah.
And I teach at Pacific Art with Yona. Yeah.
I teach it too. We don't teach together, but.
Yeah. That's
I
where
teach
she
something
comes.
different.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So that's like my process, and I've really rely on the process, and I've come to like it. When I started out, I didn't. I'll be honest with you, I didn't like the process in the sense that I just wanted to get a painting,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But like I said, I've arrived at this after like, I don't know, 10 years, and then I came and found my palette, and then I've like gone through, and now I'm kind of like it, so I'm sticking to this palette because I feel like I can really explore it even further. But yeah, that's primarily the whole point. And you can like I'm trying to stay organized, you guys. Like, oh, look at this one. see, it's the same one, it's the same one, it's the same one. Okay, but then this was my first attempt. Okay,
Mhm.
so when I paint something like this and I'll sit with it, I'm like, okay, I want to go 30 by 30. So what can I, if I have to change this, what will I do? I'll try to, it's a deliberate process. So I was like, okay, this is blue and, blue and red primarily. So I was like, okay, let's try warmer. So warmer meaning go yellow. So it becomes blue-green and I painted this, okay? In between this and this, I was lost. So this came out nonsense, but I liked this and then I blew it up. Okay, I'll show you. I actually just finished this painting,
You blew it up on your
30 by
iPhone?
30.
Oh, no, you actually, yeah. You can do that too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
You
absolutely.
have that on your website?
Oh,
It is on my
Very
website.
nice, very nice.
But
Yeah.
I want to show you something. Look, this is a 30 by 30, okay? And this came from this, which is a 8 by 8, okay? Now look, this is the problem area that I'm talking about. If you see this area over here, it doesn't really matter. This could pass as a good painting. You cannot see, right? So you guys should come here. I'm blocking you. Look, this area over here, it does not matter. Okay, it's an 8 by 8. It will pass for a good painting. But I go 30 by 30. This 1.5 inches now becomes 10
Yeah.
inches.
Yeah.
Now I've got a real problem. Because when the viewer will come here and look at the scene from the tip of this rock, we're like, okay, I see this, and then this becomes my exit point over here because eyes are attracted to highlights. This corner then becomes my exit point, see, in
Over
this
there?
corner.
Oh.
So I have to find something
Something,
interesting
yeah.
to keep you in my painting,
Oh.
okay? So that's
Oh.
why the birds came into the picture, okay?
Oh, that's, okay. Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is there's a thought process behind it. And I have been thinking through this for a whole year. That's how slow I am, okay? Because I didn't know what to do with that area on top. But then when I found the birds and I thought, okay, and again, see, this forms like an S composition.
Which is a really nice composition.
Yes, yes. But it did come up with the first. Now, if it was my first attempt, I would have ended up with this, which is blah. So I make a lot of bad paintings before I come up with like one good
Well,
painting.
it sounds like you learned from what you're doing with this,
Yeah.
with the small paintings.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it is, that's correct. And it is such a deliberate process. That's why when I go from here to here, I'm not blindly doing it. I'm like, what can I do to make it better? So from here, I know my palette. I know once I've painted this was probably painted straight from a photograph. And this is what spontaneously came out, right? But then, okay, this is my first attempt. So if I want to go next, and I want to see how I can make this better, then I'm thinking through it and what can I change? Okay, I can go a little warmer and see what happens. And also again, in this one, here, I was going with this big splash at the corner here. And here I thought, they say you shouldn't put anything in the middle, but I was like, let's see what happens. So I wanted to keep the viewer somewhere in here, right? So I came up with a little wave over here. This is me deviating from the photograph and also like colors, right? So I come over here based on all of these notes. And then once I start painting, I will rely more on this than on, the photograph or something like that. And I'll keep taking notes along the way as well. I take a lot of notes.
We're very organized.
You are. Try to, because I get lost with all the juicy colors and stuff like that.
I forget to
Yeah.
take notes on what I'm doing and I'll forget what colors I mix.
Yeah,
But then it just comes naturally to find them, but
Right.
still, it's like,
yeah.
yeah.
So from
Yeah.
here, you go for 30 by 30.
When I feel comfortable from here, if I feel
yeah.
comfortable, like when I say I feel comfortable, that means I've already painted it in my head. Okay, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know there's going to be birds, even though I don't see the birds here, because I know that I've recognized that this is a problem area, right? So before solving this, I won't go 30 by 30. That's a big problem for me, okay, because I wouldn't know what to do with it, right? So once I have everything figured out in my head and I've like cleaned it through, that's when I'll go and then paint the 30 by 30. And then you'll have the whole thing. It's a long route to get there, but it is the shortest route to get there. I've learned from
I
mistakes,
don't want to be
yes.
too naive, but you
No,
have a
no,
recipe
no.
for these? I mean,
I
I'm sorry,
don't, no, I
you
don't
just, you
have-
just eyeball it and say, this is, okay. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, because I would go, let's see, do I need more? No, I don't.
You're free to take pictures, by the
Yeah.
way, but this is basically
Yeah.
yellow to
Yeah, I
red.
got
It's
that,
just not-
yeah,
If I
but
have to
it- you
paint
just-
this again, it
Uh-huh.
will look a little different.
Oh, okay, I was gonna
So
say.
I
'cause
don't
it-
have a
yeah.
recipe.
So you don't take, like, let me do 3 of those and do those and you don't, okay, you just do it eyeball, okay.
Yeah, so that's why I said next time I
Yeah.
do it, it will look
Yeah,
a little
okay.
different from what I have right now.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Use only certain colors?
Yes.
That's what
Mhm.
you mean your palette?
yes.
So
Mhm.
like, whatever. I don't know the name of it.
Ultramarine blue, yes, I have here. Ultramarine blue, red, and yellow. These are the only 3. Look, and I'll tell you what. The reason I've deliberated a lot to come up with the colors that I want on my palette. It is the coolest yellow. I cannot mix this.
Ah,
Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense?
mhm, mhm,
If
yeah.
I have to have, if I need cad red light, cad red medium, I know how to mix it. So when I look at cad red light, I'm thinking, okay, what does it have? It's some kind of yellow with maybe a little bit of red in it. I can get there. This I cannot mix. That's why
Is
I
that
need
this?
this.
What is
Yes.
this color?
It's my cool yellow.
What's the name?
Oh, cadmium lemon.
Oh, okay.
From gambling, okay? But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying that you have to like, paint with a limited palette. It helps. For me, it simplifies my process. But that's how I will think through. If I want another color, I will be like, okay, what is it going to do for me? Where's the value range? What am I gaining from it? Is it going to help me or confuse me?
Mm.
That's what I'll think through. And that's how I will.
So you don't do it, you don't have a lot of colors,
No.
or you just use very few.
Just
colors.
3 and white,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
There's so many colors you want to.
Yeah, I know.
Buy all the colors.
I think it's,
Yeah,
I think it's
I
a
do
discipline.
really-
Oh,
I
yeah,
have
it
so
really
many
is.
colors
Yeah,
at home. Like
yeah.
I have,
This
I
is
have,
really-
a-
learning
I
for
have
me how to
lots.
cut
Yeah.
down on my colors.
Yeah.
Because I just love having lots of colors.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we
And
all
I just
do.
give
I
myself
have that
permission to
purple.
do that.
I have, it's called
Mhm.
dioxazine
Yes,
purple.
yes, I love that purple, yes, and I use that a lot in phthalo blue, but, and ultramarine blue, and not so much cobalt blue anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think you just have to figure it out for yourself.
For yourself, yes.
Yeah, I mean, if I wouldn't want to work with a limited palette,
Oh,
Yeah.
because I was in a class one time
Mhm.
with an oil painter teacher who didn't like acrylics, so that wasn't the greatest, but in any case, he was into a real limited, not the same colors, really limited
Sure.
palettes. And it just wasn't my thing, but.
From the distance.
because I don't paint a lot, but
Yeah.
I
That's a
how to say, I
yeah.
learned painting a long time ago, and I do architecture, so I don't paint. And I always feel, I don't know the colors, but I don't have a concept that I should limit my colors, that I buy a
A
lot of
little bit you
colors.
might want to.
But then I think that there's so many colors that I don't know
Remember which one to
the,
buy?
I don't know how the color would do, like, no, obviously I didn't pick enough, so I feel like I'm so, how to say, not knowing colors, the color itself, like, I don't know what it will.
So when you're starting out, you have to try things out.
Oh,
There's no
yeah.
other way. You just have to try, and then you'll feel like, okay, I like this, I like that. I didn't have this palette when I started. It took me 5-6 years to realize that, okay, I need to simplify my palette, you see.
Do you paint
So-
with oil? I forget.
Oh, I studied oil painting, so obviously I painted with oil painting,
Yeah.
but I don't paint oil,
Ooh,
much
thanks
now.
for
I
that.
watercolor or Chinese paint, I don't just
something.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I love
This painting of yours, the 30 by 31 is gorgeous. The thought process that you went through. Can I touch the paper?
Of course.
Because it's amazing, it's so
not
thin.
paper, it's canvas.
Canvas, and then you scrape, but it's still very strong. That's great.
Yeah.
That's a
How
much.
often do you do these kinds of demos?
Not very, I mean, if I do more, I'll let you know, but I don't do very often, like, it just depends if someone invites me to paint, I'm ready.
Well, and you were so fast too. That's wow.
Yes, yes, please, yeah.
What were your three colors again?
Here, so, cadmium lemon, ultramarine blue, and they're all gambling and very light. Yeah. Oh, yes, of course, here.
And then you also went to titanium white.
Yeah, and the titanium
ivory
white.
black.
I don't use ivory black. I use it because I teach a class and then I show people how to do the value studies, so that's when I use. But I probably use it for portraits, for the Zorn palette if I have to do.
Zone.
Yeah, which is ivory black, yellow ochre, and red.
Oh, okay, but that's specifically for